Welcome to today's presentation. I'm Dr. Hector Vasquez, and today I want to provide a brief overview of some of the common pitfalls in writing a thesis or dissertation. Now, a lot of these mistakes that I see are from students that I've personally worked with, and they're recurring issues that I see when writing a thesis or dissertation. Now, writing a thesis or a dissertation is a complex process. You want to avoid common mistakes, which by doing so can enhance the quality of your research. So with that being said, I want to get into, like I said, into detail about what these mistakes are and how they can be avoided. So pitfall number one is poor research planning. Oftentimes students will not define a research question or a hypothesis clearly. Your research question drives your entire study. And if you are wondering, how can I define a research question? How can I create a research question or a hypothesis? Well, this can be done through conducting a literature review. You want to do exhaust the literature, read through the literature, see what has been done, what hasn't been done, how it could be done differently. So for instance, if you're doing a study or if you're interested in a specific subject, you look at other studies in that field, what the results stated, and then if they did a qualitative research, you may decide you want to do quantitative, or you want to look at a different demographic or a different geographical area. So there are many things that you can learn from just reading and going through the literature. Now, as mentioned, you want to choose a focused topic to streamline your research and also estimate how long you think this research will take. Ideally, a dissertation should take you about a year, so keep in mind that time frame is crucial when planning out your research. Pitfall number two, again, is weak structure and organization. Very much hand in hand with what I mentioned about a research problem. There is no clear structure or organization to your thesis or dissertation. You present ideas that don't flow, and they have to flow in a logical and organized manner for your entire study to make sense. Not just for you, but as a reader, you want to understand what this study is about, how the conclusions are drawn, and again, is this a clear and concise study that was done on your behalf? Also, you want to ensure that there are clear transitions between sections for a better flow, and what we call are hard stops. You don't want that. You don't want to start with topic A and then just jump to topic B with no transition in between for the reader to try to figure out, wait a minute, if we're talking about one subject, how do we jump to another subject? But as writers, in our mind, it makes perfect sense. But as a reader, we don't have any background information to fill in that gap between the two subtopics. So you want to make sure you have clear transitions. Pitfall number three, insufficient literature review. When you don't read through the literature and get enough information from the literature, you don't know what's been done. You may be doing a study that has already been done in your area, and it may seem repetitive to those who are experts in the field. So therefore, you want to see what is out there. You don't want to waste your time doing something someone else has done. You're trying to take a different approach, and a unique approach, because this is original research that you are doing, and you want to acknowledge some of these theories and scholars that are already existing in the field, and you want to add to the body of literature. Number four would be a flawed research methodology. This is one of the biggest mistakes that I see students make. They often confuse qualitative versus quantitative research. So if your study is to evaluate the feelings, or you want to get a sense of what someone went through, what was their experience like, that is going to be a qualitative research. But if you're trying to measure an outcome of something, measuring, numerical, that is going to be quantitative. And so I think it's extremely important that when you decide what your study, what you're trying to find out, ask yourself, how am I going to get these results? Is it by doing interviews? Is it by measuring an outcome? And that's how you're going to be able to determine what is the appropriate methodology for your research. Now, again, this goes in hand with your data collection. How are you going to collect data? How are you going to analyze the data? And that is what's going to determine, again, whether you're doing a quantitative approach, or you're taking a qualitative approach, or perhaps employing both methods, in which we call a mixed methods approach. Number four would be poor data analysis. Now, when you're doing data analysis, again, this is just data. You shouldn't pick sides. This is not a biased study. This is just presenting the data for what it is. You want to avoid misinterpreting statistical or qualitative data, and you want to verify the accuracy of your results. So, as mentioned, discuss, the limitations. What is it in the study that, is not clear? If you have not met data saturation, meaning you're not seeing a repetitive answer in your study or in your survey, you must keep going until you meet data saturation. So in essence, if you have 10 participants, all 10 participants are giving you the exact same response, nothing is being added anymore to your data, so therefore you can conclude your study. But if you're getting different responses for all 10 participants, then you clearly don't have an answer yet to your research question, so you must continue. Number 6 is a lack of critical analysis. Now you want to draw meaningful conclusions from your data, and you want to engage in different perspectives and avoid overgeneralizing your findings beyond what your data supports. So as mentioned, you want to look at the data and analyze it critically. Again, if you're doing qualitative analysis, you want to tie your qualitative data back to your research questions. Is it answering the questions? And if so, is it providing sufficient data, again, for there to be a clear answer to your research questions? Number 7, similar to what I just stated, is a weak argumentation and the writing style. So again, you want to write clearly. Don't use complex words. Often as we've gone through college and high school, college, growing up, you're taught about word count. The more words you use, the better it sounds. In a dissertation, it's the complete opposite. You want to use simple, straight to the point language, no fluff. You want to use a formal language, and you want to minimize your jargon. And again, always support your claims with evidence from the literature, but with using in-text citations, and avoid repetition. And as mentioned, number 8 would be ignoring citation and plagiarism rules. Anytime you cite anything that is obviously not your work, you must cite it. The one rule of thumb is to think, if you weren't born with this knowledge, you obviously got the knowledge or the information from somewhere. Just cite it as you go. And cite as you go, as I just said. Don't wait till the end, because that'll create way more work for you, having to go through your entire dissertation, which would be over 100 pages, trying to figure out where you got this information from. So a rule of thumb, I feel, is after every sentence, you could provide an in-text citation. After every point that you make that you are getting from an article, just cite it. There's nothing wrong with over-citing, but there is a problem with not citing enough. Also, poor time management. So poor time management, as mentioned, when you don't know what you don't know. So when you get into the dissertation writing, obviously we don't know how long it's going to take us. There are some things that are out of our control, such as the IRB approval, data collection. You may anticipate to get, participants within a few weeks. That may turn into a month. Again, we can't predict how long it's going to take us to gather our data and to do our analysis, and to wait for the IRB approval for us to just begin collecting data. So those are all things that you must plan for, like I said, because again, with poor time management, if you don't account for that, you're going to be rushing at the end, and that's usually where panic and stress start mounting, and not a lot of people can perform under that kind of pressure, and they start trying to neglect their study and just trying to get it through so that they can graduate. Number 10 would be not seeking feedback or support. Now, this may seem something quite simple, but the problem is as a scholar, someone who is doing research and it's original research, you're going to receive constructive criticism from your advisor or your chair. And it's best not to argue with your advisor or your chair, because they're not telling you because they're trying to hinder the process or keeping you from graduating. They're just letting you know what needs to be corrected or revised. The longer you take in trying to prove a point, the longer it is going to take you to write your dissertation. So I know when I went through the process, my chair told me the same thing. I'm going to provide you feedback, and it's not that I'm nitpicking, but it's because this is going to be a published document with our names on it, including yours, and we want to get this right. And so when you do receive feedback, welcome it, revise it, and again, it'll be a better document in the end for not just the institution who's obviously going to publish this, but again, you as a scholar and as a researcher and soon-to-be doctor is going to have your name on it and open many paths and avenues, now that you're publishing in the field. So hopefully you found this helpful. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. Are there any issues that you're seeing, that you're noticing, or have come across or are worried about in the dissertation process? Just put them in the comment section. I'll answer them, when I come across them. But if there's anything else, as I said, just reach out, and I'm willing to help in any capacity that I can. So